What happens at Grandma's stays at Grandma's is a model for you and your grandkids. If it's fun, it's fair game. But lately, hip pain has you grimacing more than laughing. And that's a moment you realize life's too short to put off treatment any longer.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for orthopedic care, with hundreds of joint replacements each year. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better. The Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This podcast, episode 733, Managing Your Mindset Around the Holidays.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This podcast with Amanda Valentine.
What up? Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This podcast. I am Amanda Valentine. If you are brand new here, thank you so much for checking out this podcast. Appreciate it very, very much. Little backstory about me. I have struggled with weight and health and body image issues since I'm going to say about the age of 6 or so. You can hear lots of background on my story in this podcast because I've been doing it for almost 4 years and there's a butt ton of episodes, obviously. But I spent over a decade yo-yo dieting. I've spent the past 10 years working on my mental and physical health. I've lost over 100 pounds. I made a career switch. I am now a certified personal trainer, certified nutritionist, among other things. So yeah, I do all the health and fitness and wellness things. So I wanted to talk in this episode about the holidays because, we are in December and we have already made it through Thanksgiving and then we're into the holiday season, which usually tends to be the eating season. And I know a stressful season for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And, then we go right into January, which usually goes into New Year's resolution season, which goes into diet season. So I know I've done multiple episodes about New Year's resolutions and about the holidays before, but, it's funny as we grow, we have different perspectives and, a podcast I would have done this time last year, I might have something different to say this year. And I kind of what I want to say about the holiday season and also as I'm seeing from a perspective of being a personal trainer and a health coach and all of those things this year, where I haven't been all of those things in years past, is I think that the mental space to get into the holidays is enjoy yourself. I've gotten into the discussion with multiple clients here at the gym. P.S. I have a podcast studio at my gym, which is Cincy 360 Fitness in Cincinnati. I also have a home studio, but currently I'm at the gym. I had clients this morning. I'm recording this podcast, and then I have clients after this, and then I have meetings and podcast recordings, and then I have more clients tonight. If you would want to have a glimpse into my schedule, but talking about Thanksgiving and there's a lot of talk of like, oh, I was bad. And I don't think there is a bad. And I think that we need to have a different mindset around that. If it's holidays and yes, you should enjoy your life and you shouldn't beat yourself up because you ate some sugar cookies or because you wanted to go get, an iced peppermint mocha or any of those sorts of things. You should enjoy yourself and there should be moderation. And I think that also going into the mindset of, hey, I know I'm going to go into a healthy kick in January. I got a month. So like YOLO for December. Let's eat all of the things because F it. We're going to switch this around next month is also kind of goes into that binge, sort of mindset. So I'd say for the holiday season, my recommendation is to just kind of notice your own patterns and what you've done in the past and kind of catch yourself saying those things of like, oh, this is bad or, oh, this is good or I'm being bad or I'm being good and kind of be like, kind of unpack that a little bit and see how that feels for you. And is that serving you? And realize, yeah, you can have some cookies and do those things. Like you can have whatever the heck you want. But I think going hard and pegging it and then being like, okay, we're doing nothing but kale chips in January, and that's when I'm going to get my gym membership, and that's when I'm going to start drinking water, then that's kind of usually where those things last for about like 6 weeks or so. And then we get into February, March, and you're like, this sucks, and you bail on it. Does that sound familiar? It sounds familiar to me. I have lived that life multiple years. So I think it's kind of having more of that balance of we're going into time with family and friends, especially, in 2021, we're having a lot more gatherings and doing more of the things where last year we might not have. Like last year I had Zoom Christmas with my family, and this year I'm having in-person Christmas with family, and things have changed. So it's kind of, that could bring up amount of stress for multiple reasons, but also knowing, hey, there is going to be more of these parties and get-togethers, and there's going to be more drinking and more food, and knowing that that's what it is, and it doesn't have to be bad, and you're going to have to quote unquote make up for it when we get into January, of just being like, hey, I can enjoy myself, but I don't have to go crazy if you don't want to. And just like when we get into January, you don't have to go crazy on the health kick to make it work. It's finding that balance. And as a person that kind of lives into extremes and lives in that all or nothing attitude, or at least I've spent a lot of my life there, it's hard to find balance. And I'm still working on that. I mean, because this is a forever journey. This isn't just going to be like, hey, I made it through 2021, game over, we're starting a new game. No, it's life. It's a journey. It's everyday choices. And that's what also can make it frustrating if you're not in the right mindset to be like, yeah, well, it's a balance. It's a give and take. It's not like, that all or nothing sort of thing. Because the all or nothing thing, as much as I've lived my life there, it hasn't really served me a ton. And I haven't really seen it serve a ton of other people, especially when it comes to doing things with your body. Of like, hey, I'm going to stay hydrated. I'm going to drink a gallon of water today, but then I'm going to just drink an 18-pack tomorrow. And then you're just kind of like bouncing and yo-yoing all over the place. Can you find middle ground? So I'd say, you think about getting through the holidays and surviving it, having just kind of sitting down and having that conversation with yourself of the choices you're making, and do they feel good and do they feel bad? And the only person that's going to be able to tell you how that feels is you. I mean, you can hire all the health coaches and personal trainers or whoever else, but it's ultimate, and that the person with, the conversation you're going to have with that person is ultimately also up to you and what works for you and your goals and where you want to go. So you kind of have to sit that with that yourself, which isn't always fun. A lot of times it's not very fun, but at the same time, it kind of gets you where you need to be. You know what I mean? So I say for the holidays, if you want to have that iced peppermint mocha or whatever, just get it. Do you have to get the venti? No, if you want to get it. Could you get a grande and still have the same pleasure out of it? Sure. It's those kinds of choices. Or, hey, do I need to eat Christmas cookies every single day? Because it's just kind of like, well, Christmas only comes one time a year, so I better drink the gallon of eggnog every day now because it's going to be gone in January. I mean, in today's world, no, it's not. Well, I don't know. Supply chain issues. So, hey, I got an email because I forgot to close that. So I hope you enjoyed that little chime there, because I'm not going to edit that out. So, it's those sorts of things. And going into New Year's resolutions, I'm a believer of New Year's resolutions. My whole journey that I'm on now, I've been on for a decade. I'm hitting my anniversary of my New Year's resolution in January, and my 4-year anniversary of this podcast in January started with, I'm not happy with the choices I'm making. I don't feel good in this body. This isn't the life I want to live. This doesn't feel like life to me. And I'm tired of dieting. I'm tired of eating 7 wheat thins in one sitting and 3 grapes and, salting my food with my tears because this sucks, and then being over it and then binging like 2 dozen chicken wings the next day. Like that didn't feel good to me. I'm like, I don't like this. This doesn't make me feel good. And so I made my New Year's resolution to make the best decision possible in every moment. And that's what I've stuck to for the past 10 years. Is every day perfect? Do I stick to that every time? Have I made a shit ton of bad decisions in the past 10 years? Yes, I have. That is life. But, I try to live in that more times than not. And that has changed my life in so many ways. And, I think that especially you're going to see so many articles and so many things talking about how New Year's resolutions are problematic and we're going into toxic diet culture and we can do all that. And yes, it can be. Absolutely. but it doesn't have to be that either. I feel like New Year's resolutions is just taking a look at your life. If you need a hard start, if you need a January 1st, if you need a Monday, if you need a birthday, anything like that, to just kind of reevaluate your life and be like, hey, this isn't serving me. I need a change, and here's some steps I can make to that change. Then use it. And New Year's is a great time to do that. I just enjoy that process. It doesn't mean you have to. Don't do it if you don't want to, if you don't feel like it's helpful. But it can help. I've made a bunch of New Year's resolutions that I didn't complete at all. But I've done some ones that have completely changed my life. And I think small goals are helpful, of being like, hey, you know what? I just want to have one more glass of water a day. You know what? I know I should probably get off my phone for an hour before I go to bed because I've been sleeping like crap, which ruins my entire day. It doesn't have to be like I need to lose 100 pounds this year. It doesn't mean I have to start going to the gym 4 days a week. It doesn't mean that I'm going to have to start eating kale instead of Taco Bell every day. It doesn't have to be these hardcore switches. It's these tiny little steps that kind of feel like nothing when you're like, well, going for a walk for 15 minutes, that's not going to do anything. I beg to differ. If you don't do any sort of movement and you start walking 15 minutes a day, that's a whole hell of a lot more than you were doing before. And yeah, are you doing an hour of CrossFit a day? But that's probably not going to serve you either. You know what I mean? So it's finding those things where you're just like, doing stretches. I mean, this is a sore point for me. I'm getting better because I find that stuff just like boring. I am a go hard. Again, I live in those extremes. So, but I know that by doing them and sticking to them means I injure myself a little bit less. I get to spend less money on physical therapy. That's nice. Even though Megan Springer, who is my physical therapist here in Cincinnati, she's absolutely amazing and a miracle worker. She has fixed my broke ass body multiple times because I do stupid crap and hurt myself. But you know what I mean? It's still like, I would prefer to not need a doctor in my life. You know what I mean? Of like, can I keep this together? And it's just doing those little stretches every day. And that adds up. Drinking one more glass of water a day adds up, even though it doesn't feel like you're making this monumental change. You are, because if you start doing that today and this time next year you look back, I bet things are going to look a little bit different. And you're going to feel proud of yourself. It's those little things. It's those little promises you keep to yourself that, you know, you stick to that are going to make that big change. And maybe that's something you go into the holidays with, of just kind of having that conversation with yourself of like, hey, you know, I want to have a little bit more balance this year. I don't want to go so hard extreme one way in December and hard extreme in another way in January, because so many of us do that this time of year. And just be like, hey, well, you know what? I'm going to have some Christmas cookies in December, and I'm going to have some Christmas cookies in January. Like, you know, whatever. That would be my advice for the holiday season. And if this is the time of year where you're just kind of like, you know, hey, I'm waiting until January, then I'm going to think about making healthier choices or getting a gym membership or doing all of those things. Like, well, why not today? You know? And I feel like if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably already made some of those choices. But it's like, you know, you don't have to wait for January to make healthier choices. You can drink an extra glass of water today here in December versus starting it in January. But you also don't have to do that either. If it feels better in January, then do it. You know what I mean? Does this make sense? Am I rambling? Don't answer that. So I know this is a difficult time of year for a lot of people, because there are so many things wrapped around food and stuff like that, and drinking and parties, and that's why it's like, but you also got to enjoy your life. And as we've seen, as we've been living in a global pandemic for almost 2 years now, you still got to like live your life, and you want to find some joy in life. There's so much now that just kind of sucks the joy out of life. I think we all feel that. I think the temperature I've seen from multiple places, not just in the health and fitness space, but just from so many other people that I know, that their workplaces we're all kind of mentally beat right now. I mean, it's brutal. None of us have lived through a global pandemic before, and it ain't easy, and it's not fun. It sucks. And so, yeah, you got to find some joy in life too. And there is joy in food and there's pleasure in those things. And I get it. And to be like, I'm going to spend December like I'm being bad if I drink eggnog. Like, again, there's this good and bad label of not thinking about that, of thinking foods that serve you or that are giving you the nutritional value to fuel your body. You want to have some of those things, but you also get pleasure out of other foods too. So, I mean, it's a lot, and I probably am rambling at this point, but I hope that all makes sense. And I hope that makes things a little bit easier because we're already under such an insane amount of stress, all of us, for so many reasons, that we shouldn't add to our stress by really honing in and worrying about these things too. Like, yes, I think we should be concerned about our overall health and wellness, physical and mental. But if we're adding this really hardcore layer of stress of like, eat this, don't eat this, that is not serving us. That's negating the purpose of us trying to be healthy, right? So give yourself some grace. This time of year, you don't have to add that extra stress onto it. Kind of before you make those choices, sit with it for a second and think about it. Before you make those choices, whether it be movement or food or any of those things, just kind of take a second and breathe through it and think about it. And, when whatever you make from that is the right choice. And if you look back and like, oh, why did I do that? And we're like, well, this is why I did that. I have learned from this experience, and I'm going to take that knowledge to me into the next time that I'm presented with a decision, which I can't remember what it is. I should have Googled this for this episode, but it's like how many like decisions your mind makes on a daily basis is just like super, super bonkers of just everything. There's just a billion choices that we make every single day. And sometimes sitting back and just processing, even if it's a few seconds, again, a couple deep breaths of making thinking about those choices and making a decision makes a big difference. And that's something that I've worked on a ton. And it's really hard. And it's been especially hard for me. And I will say, as somebody who has worked through it, who is currently still working through it in my own ways, it's absolutely worth it. I mean, if there's something in your life where you're like, this isn't serving me, this doesn't feel good, then you have the power to change that. Is it easy? And is it going to happen right away? Hell no. But is it worth it to work through those things to kind of get to the place you want to be? Absolutely. We only have this one life. We should enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? And again, there's a lot of joy and pleasure in movement and food, and you should be getting those things out of that. This shouldn't be a painful process. December shouldn't be something that you regret in January. That's no fun, right? That doesn't, yeah, you know what I'm saying. I am rambling at this point. So I do want to say, though, if you ever have any questions or if there's any way I can help, you can always reach out to me. Amanda@AmandaValentineBites.com is my email. Also, if you're looking for a great health coach, whether it be today or it be in the new year, somebody that wants to, teach you about macros and nutrition and movement. My friend Sarah and Team Fit With Me, she is fantastic. She does like all these labs and stuff too, which also give you a great amount of information. I've gotten labs with my primary care before, and it was just kind of like your general stuff. But then Sarah gave me like a list of things to specifically ask my doctor for. And I did. And he's like, okay, cool, let's run those labs. And my copay for that ended up being like, I forgot, it was like $100 to $200. So it wasn't like too insane to get all of it's information about yourself. And that's how I found out I have Hashimoto's, which leads me to make the choices of being more gluten-free. Am I perfect with that? No. Should I be better with it? Should. I mean, it would serve me more. I would probably not be as tired and have some achy joints if I was more strict on that. We're getting there. We baby step in there. But Sarah can run those labs for you. She has a food relationship coach partner who has been on this podcast who's amazing. She has great community support, a great Facebook page. So if you are looking for somebody to have a support system, accountability buddy, and to teach you more of those things, if that's something you're interested in, again, whether it's this year or next year, you can reach out to Sarah. And right now you can get 10% off month 1 of all packages, plans, and add-on services when you go to teamfitwithme.com/pound this. You're going to find that in the show notes. So again, I'm all about finding those resources, asking for help. You don't have to do this on your own. So Sarah's great. If you ever need me or there's somebody I can recommend, always reach out to me. And as always, I appreciate you so much listening to this podcast. It's a really big deal for me. And I love that I've been doing this almost 4 years now, and I'm going strong, and it's amazing. So again, baby step, I started this podcast of that would be cool to see what happens. And man, it's been wild so far. So I appreciate you listening. Wouldn't be able to do this if you didn't. So that's it for now. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you go on with your day. Talk to you later. Bye.
AmandaValentineBites.com